Good morning, jujitsu nerds, jujitsu nerds, jujitsu nerds. It is day 3 of PGF season 7, and this season has been freaking crazy. Oh, I was supposed to, maybe my producer Anthony can get it from my story. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't have access to my Instagram. I posted earlier this week. I said, who is your favorite pick to win the team event for PGF season 7? Because everyone was so high off of team first form, because on paper they just looked like they were going to take it. And because everyone felt that type of way on our post show and our broadcast team, it always makes me feel like that doesn't happen. What did, what's a good UFC example? When Justin Gaethje was going to face Dustin Poirier, and everyone's like, oh, there's going to be a crazy knockout. Like when everyone thinks one thing and then it goes to the decision. I guess that one did end in crazy knockouts, but you get my point. Anyway, guys, I'm so happy that the Jiu-Jitsu nerds are starting to follow PGF a little bit more. I feel like there's been a lot of hype since CJI. So now even Jiu-Jitsu casuals are getting into PGF, which you have to pay attention to. It's a full week of content, but it is still all very, very exciting. So first, shout out to Rodrigo, my social media manager, Zach Sherman, who created my graphic for this, and then Anthony, who's helping me out with producing. I think Matt Skaff should be here at some point to talk everything at PGF season 7. But also, if you guys haven't seen the regular stream, it has been top notch. There's a post show hosted by Raph also, and then you have BMAC as the commentator, TJ DeSantis as the broadcaster, and all that. So before we get started, I want to show you guys a look at some of the schedule that happened. I'm going to run and get a paper really quick. PGF 7, y'all. If only we had enough time to talk about Polaris too. We do not have enough time to talk about Polaris. I feel like day 2 was even more exciting than day 1. Day 1, though, we did have some big matchups with Chris Wojcik taking on Ryan Aitken. And I spoke with Ryan Aitken before the event started, and he knew that his first day was going to be one of his toughest days, but he still managed to really show out and put points on the board for Team New Hope Regeneration, who, like I said, they were not the favorites going in. People were looking at Team Intrana, who has the returning season champion winners. And, I see Matt Skaff peeping into the waiting room. And then David Cesare, Elijah Carlton, Nathan Haddad, returning season 6 season champions. They got the team prize last time, but this time they're all kind of going up in weight. So the chances of them getting the wins and coming back, I think David Cesare might be coming back today. I know he had to take off some time, but let's see if we can get our BJJ Encyclopedia, Matt Skaff, to the building. What's up, Matt?
Hey, what's up, guys? Let me see. Let me turn my camera. I am on much worse technology than normal because all of our stuff has been taken to the PGF. And so I forgot that. So anyways, let me set this up.
Surprisingly, the phone does pretty well on screen.
That's what I'm saying. The phone, I'm always shocked. Now I just need to move into frame, and there we go.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I was telling you the other day, I was like, damn, Travis is dominating his matches, but he's not getting the subs on day 1. And then day 2, he's on the board now.
Yeah, I mean, Travis has been killing it. And I think the big thing with Travis was coming in was we're trying to get that $20K team prize money. And so it's not necessarily about your individual performance. I mean, obviously, you're trying to go out there and put on a show, but you really need to be strategically and tactically smart for your team. And I think Travis has had a phenomenal showing so far. Obviously, he's in the top 8 with some of the best dudes in the world, and his team is killing it. So, I mean, you can't really ask for much more.
Yeah, and I feel like a big part of the New Hope Regeneration squad is they have teammates that know what their job is. Like obviously Cam Hurd is obviously trying to get the submission, but someone phrased him as being the stopper for that group. Like he's just not getting scored on. He's making it so that they can win the blocks. And then you have guys like Ernesto Rivera, who is an alternate, who's coming in here and really just being a highlight machine. And then Bradley Schneider going from getting subbed day one a bunch to being the most clutch player of day two. I mean, there's just so many storylines in PGF. I love it.
It's always that way. And I think that's what's really fun about the PGF is every season we see these guys come in and you just never know how it's going to shake out. I mean, last season, if you would have said PJ Barch isn't going to make it to the postseason and he would need Ben Eddy to drop out to make it, I mean, I would have bet $1,000 with anybody in the world that was not going to happen. And we're seeing that this season. A lot of these guys are struggling to score. And I don't know, the PGF definitely, I think, exposes grapplers, especially guys that have a very, you've got to be very able to kind of make adjustments. And some of these guys they have one or two things they really like to do, but everybody's seeing that. And so they know it's like, hey, if I can stay out of this guy's guard, if I can stay out of the leg locks, how is this guy going to beat me?
Yes. And something that I wanted to point out to you that I was getting frustrated about, I think BMAC mentioned it in the broadcast as well, is when people are going to that body lock pass and it just takes forever and there's only 6 minutes in a match. I feel like a few different people have been doing the body lock pass and it just hasn't been working out. It's either body lock versus rubber guard and things are just getting stalemated. And that's why these stalling calls are so big, because the person on bottom is the one that's kind of pressured to keep going, or else they're going to be set in referee's position.
Well, it's funny. Last season I was just a fan. And so I didn't really care. I was just wanting to see the most exciting matchups. Now with obviously Travis, my student, competing, I only care about him winning the 20K. And so I do have a little bit different eyes this season. So when I see these guys in those positions, I'm like, all right, well, we're not scoring, or nobody's scoring. And so I have been very pleased with some of that just because of, the other teams aren't scoring, and we're just trying to walk away with that 20K as the coach. But as an analyst, it's been really difficult. It's been weird. I think that's the biggest issue right now they're going to be discussing today is what do we do in those situations? Who is truly stalling? And I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out tonight, because there are a lot of rubber guard players. We've seen guys like Fedor and Kyle Chambers go to the rubber guard in most of their matches. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how they make those calls tonight.
Yes. And it's very fun to see the coaches throw in their challenges. Like they're very, they want to win. I think Hodger Gracie was very confident that first one was just going to run away and take it. And now we're being shocked by New Hope Regeneration. And someone in the comments just said, Bradley Schneider with the comeback. Let's go back to some of the day one that he went to. I mean, it's got to be so tough when you're headed into your day one, knowing that you have some of your toughest matchups. And when I interviewed Pedro Sauer, Bradley's coach for New Hope Regeneration, he said that him and Bradley had their own separate breakfast from everyone, and they were just talking game plan and how to come back after being subbed a few times in day one. So let's take a look at some of the struggles.
I mean, quickly getting into the outside heel hook position, but it wasn't the outside heel hook that finished it off. It was actually the straight ankle. Look at that extension. Oh, my gosh. Actually, let's go back. I want to see that just a little bit. Watch this, man. Watch how much bend is on that foot. Oh, my gosh. That was...
I cannot imagine having a guy like Kyle Boehm on my leg. And then there's
Schneider
this
is in
one.
a tight spot with 2 minutes. It's not where we want to see him if he's looking to leave.
This one leaves out quite a bit. So, Matt, I'll let you kind of comment over it, because Marcin is really a superstar. Polish powerhouse is what I call him. But he's, just a Polish power.
Well, the PGF is set up to give guys like Marcin, who is a obviously world-class grappler that just hasn't had quite the exposure to the community yet. And he gets to have 12 matches. And all these guys, they have someone like a Bradley Schneider. It's funny, the first day, he was getting dunked on, but he's a national level black belt. Like, he's a very, very, very good black belt. He's going to destroy most black belts. And you get to see a guy like Marcin run through some of these dudes, and it's just really eye-opening in his style. And especially, he takes out Andre Porfio in the first match, takes out Brad Schneider. He's tied for second with points right now with Ernesto, and Ernesto's another guy. I knew who Ernesto was just because he's an Atlanta guy, and so he's in my neck of the woods. He's competed against a few of my students, and I knew this guy's a elite level black belt. And but it's cool, man. That's what I love about the PGF. And the Brad Schneider is the case of why we need PGF. Because after day one, we all would have been saying what? The fans would have been saying what? Brad Schneider sucks. That's just what we do as fans. We're very harsh critics. We're sitting on the couch. We're going, how did this guy get in the PGF? This guy got leg locked 3 times. It looks super easy. This guy's terrible. And then day 2, he comes out and he's an absolute stud and ends up, I mean, really being the catalyst of this huge run. And that's really put, Travis's team and those guys in first place. And so that's what I love about the PGF is, I tell athletes all the time is any given day, I mean, it just might not. Bradley Schneider just had bad matchups first day. We see he's not a big leg lock guy. And then yesterday, the arm bar and that knee bar he hit, that knee bar setup was one of the coolest highlights in any PGF season. I mean, honestly, it's probably my favorite sub from this season.
Yes, there's been a lot of good ones for sure. I know we just showed Bradley getting submitted, so we got to show.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, look at that grip.
This is against
the leg lock and the knee bar.
Oh, yeah.
It was just incredible technique.
And that was a quick one, too. I can't remember if it was, I think he just missed the elbow genie point on that one.
He did. It was like a minute and 6 seconds.
Yes. So that one's just +3, but that is what won his team the block because it was all draws. Fedor Nikolov, Cameron Hurd, Martin Machulovic versus Ernesto Rivera, Chris Wojcik, Travis Thomas, Sebastian Attard, and then Ryan Aitken. All draws. The last match, and they get an extra point for every block. So Bradley Schneider getting it done. I mean, what a story. I mean, and he also went for very low in the draft. And I can only imagine how that feels. Also for Caleb Crump, he has to take the intentional walk because no one wanted them first round. And then now he's the guy that's being so hard to submit. So all of these great storylines for these alternates being able to make some big statements against big competition as well.
Yeah, it's really a special thing to watch. And, you really become fans. I'm telling you, like Bradley Schneider right now, I'm a huge fan of this guy. I just think it takes character. It takes a certain type of person to have a day like that and not quit on themselves and to stay positive. And I couldn't say enough good things about Bradley Schneider, just who he is as a person, just again, I wonder, there's been times I've thought in these PGF seasons, how would I handle going 0 for 3 day 1, getting 0 points? How would I handle
or getting sub 3 times?
That's what I'm saying. Getting sub 3 times and then going for $100 and watching other people go for way more and just kind of feeling like nobody, like, I just wonder how I would handle that, And so when I do see these guys, there needs to be like almost a PGF award for a guy that kind of the Matt Elkins award, a guy that just does poorly the first day or 2 and then starts showing out after that, because those are the guys to me that I really fall in love with every season.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. And I feel like there's just so many different characters that I wasn't anticipating to meet. Ernesto is definitely one of them. I spoke with him and he's so likable. I remember in the draft day, he was like, I can't remember how he said it, but he's like, I can beat all of these guys in here. And like, I didn't really know him. I only knew him because of what you told me, and you guys are local to Atlanta, so you guys know each other on that circuit. But I was like, who is this guy? So I literally asked him in the draft day, I was like, where does this confidence come from? And he's like, I just know I have really good jujitsu. And I was like, oh shit. We talking that smack preseason, and then it's so funny to watch it come to fruition. So this one is after the leg lock.
Nice leg lock against a really, really tough opponent, Nathan Haddad. So now you and Ryan Aitken scored for your team. You won for your block. What's the mentality going into the next block?
I mean, hopefully more of the same. Ryan's a beast. I'm trying to keep pace with him. He's definitely the team leader for sure. So it feels really good to be able to put points on the board. I mean, 6, we won the block. Hopefully we could just do the same thing and win it. I mean, I think we were a little underrated, but I think that's good,
I was about to say, everyone was making you guys the underrated New Hope regeneration and get the good picks. I think you guys are going to surprise people tonight.
I think we're already doing it, which just means people will come harder, but that's all right, That means you're doing the right thing.
Well, we cannot wait to see the rest.
And when I talked to Paul Ardilla's not twin brother, but brother, he told me that there was a slight chance that Paul and Ernesto weren't going to square off, but they're going to happen day 2. And then, when people get teammates going up against each other, they travel together, they're besties. You think that they might not go as hard, but tell me your thoughts about that match, Paul Ardilla versus Ernesto Rivera.
I mean, a lot of people have said that was one of the best matches of the show so far. And I think when you see competitors or guys that are friends, and these guys are like brothers, you hear them talk about each other. There's a special bond there. It's much more than just even teammates. And I always think it's really special when you get to see guys like that fight. And I know it's really, really hard. I can't imagine having to do that. I was fortunate enough when I was competing to ever have anything like that. But I've seen it go both ways. I've seen guys refuse and, they just kind of bow out. And but I think, when you do that, there is a certain level of respect that the fans give you because they do understand that this is emotionally hard for you and something that you don't necessarily want to do. But when you do go out and perform like they did, I definitely think we all kind of just applaud them and really we're thankful for that matchup. I mean, it was super exciting.
Yes, and that was to start off day 2. I'm starting to get an echo. I don't know if you hear that, Matt. But okay, so that was day 2. I don't know where I wrote them down. But yeah, they ended up going into a draw. And Ernesto Rivera ends up taking Caleb Crump. Someone just put in the comments, Caleb Crump is a dog for being the last pick and then coming out like he is. But he did get submitted by Ernesto Rivera. It was +6. He just missed that elbow genie point. So again, definitely a star on that New Hope Regeneration team. But we got to talk about your boy Travis Thomas. Were you getting a little bit worried when his pants were falling down? Like his shorts just look too big compared to other people's.
It's funny. I had a match when I was a white belt. Literally my first tournament, I got pants just like that. So,
that's like my worst nightmare.
It happened to me as well, but I won the match just like he did. So, maybe it kind of runs in this family tree we've got going. But anyways, with Travis, the big thing was that there were 3 or 4 names in particular that I was like, stylistically, I thought were going to be really tough matches for him. One's on his team, Ryan Aitken. The other 3 were Sebastian Etard, Chris Wojcik, and Elijah Carlton, just because they're all such heavy leg lockers. And we've been putting a lot of time into just neutralizing that. And I think we've really seen, Travis's passing has been maybe the best in the PGF. His passing has just been absolutely phenomenal.
So entertaining.
And so we've got those matches out the way, and I definitely feel really good. And so when he was supposed to go against Davis, and look, no offense to the guys, but you're an alternate, and we knew that was an eat match. Hey, we're going to eat this match. We're going to get the choke. We're going to keep a good pace, and it was a super entertaining, one of the best matches from yesterday. The flying triangle was super sick. His opponent tried that flying triangle. Travis did a good job, escaped, but it's funny. Travis is probably the hardest. Yeah, this is my specialty. So I'm a guillotine guy. So Travis has spent his first few years getting guillotined a lot, and now he is one of the hardest people. I can't guillotine him anymore, and I just know I don't think there's very many human beings out there that are going to be able to finish him. And it was funny. We talked about this. Travis went for the knee bar, and he's like, man, I'm so glad I didn't get that knee bar because I needed those 6 points. And he finds himself in either 4th or 5th right now. So he's looking really, really good for the playoffs.
Yes, and Chris Olivo is one of the most funny characters. I think it was in this match. I didn't clip it out for this live chat, but he literally walks out with water in his mouth and is just like... And everything he does, I love so much, but it's so funny because it comes across in the funniest way when you're in person. He's just the funniest character. And that's what PGF needs. You need the guys that just bring that extra bit of character into it. So he is super, super funny. Getting off the bench for Team Intrana, and Team Intrana not doing too bad. They're not in last place. I know it's Dean Lister's team that's in last place in Team Constellation Network. Actually, no, it might be Intrana now. Let's check. Because Intrana didn't score too much yesterday. We need the man with the 20-pound brain here for all of our point specifics.
I know, old egghead.
Yeah, and Jason Anik now, have you seen? What are you thinking
Mhm.
about the fantasy quarter? Have you participated in the fantasy league?
I personally haven't, because I was told that even if I won anything, I wouldn't get anything. So it's like,
Oh.
what's the point, you know? And so then if I do good, I don't get anything. But if I do bad, then people are like, oh, well, you didn't even like, they're getting onto Egghead because he's been terrible. You know, his teams have been, I think first day he scored like 6 points. And so, I'm a huge fan though. I do play fantasy. So I'm a big fantasy sports guy. And so I've always thought jiu-jitsu really needed that. And you can turn any sport. I don't care how boring you think a sport is. I mean, if you get into fantasy, whatever, fantasy golf, I mean, you're going to be watching golf on Sunday. Like if you've got $100 on the line, you're going to be watching golf on Sunday. And so as long as you do it responsibly, I would love to see more and more people start betting on jiu-jitsu and getting into this, you know. And again, there's definitely people I would say this isn't for you, you know, if you don't have the self-control. But I mean, if you're smart with your money and stuff, I mean, putting $50 on something like this is one of the most fun things you can do. And so I'm excited to see how that continues to grow as they do more and more seasons.
Yeah, and that's why I think jiu-jitsu has the potential to really blow up to just casual consumers, because it could be the top sport for betting because you don't have to take nearly as much risk that you do with MMA. Like you could make some serious money with jiu-jitsu if you just do your studying and figure out the matchups, compared to MMA where like so many like upsets kind of happen. Jiu-jitsu it does too, but I feel like it's completely a different level. Like MMA, there's so many other variables. Matt, I do want to get your thoughts on Harp's 555 because there were 2 challenges. I think someone Hodger just did it and then now other people are doing it. And it's like, that doesn't usually happen, right?
I mean, it's the first in PGF history, and it sounds like, because I think during the broadcast, Brandon was saying that that's not allowed, but then he was saying it was allowed. And in a new sport, because this is a new sport, I mean, obviously it is grappling, and grappling's been around for thousands of years, but whenever you're implementing a new rule set, which this is, there's going to be moments like this. And it's unfortunate it happens on live stream because then people are kind of like, you never want your audience confused, you know? And so that was kind of unfortunate, but I'll be interested to see. I mean, I definitely think coaches should get 1 challenge per block. I definitely think, I mean, you know, you look at all the other sports, and when I just think about successful sports, you know, you think of any NBA, NFL, they have challenge. Coaches are allowed to challenge a call. And, but there needs to also be, you don't want those long breaks. Like you can't have 10 minutes of deliberation for one thing. It needs to be something quick. It needs to be something. And obviously the PGF is such a big event right now. There's so many people there. Maybe they just need to have one person that is just there for replay. And they're going to make the call like, hey, I'm making the ultimate call. We're going to go to the replay booth real quick. He's going to take 30 seconds to a minute to just make a quick call. But I do think there should be coaches challenges, but we also need a little bit, you know, there needs to be some clarification.
Yeah,
there.
I agree with you. And I think that the addition of Heath has been so great. I knew he looked familiar. He's the guy that does like all the ADCC events. Like I remember him with his hair. He does such a good job with the resets, which I think is a really big deal because I think they need to, like Andre Porfirio I spoke to, and he got his knee pops. And he is maybe going to be returning today, but this is day 1. This is why Abraham LaMontagne is an alternate right now for Team Intrana, because Andre got hurt. And they were basically on the concrete and like on the couches. And when you're in leg lock exchanges and you need to roll out of things, I feel like that completely changes the game. And I know BMAX said that unless a submission is locked in, then it continues. But I'm also like, okay, but maybe there needs to be a point where we can like reset the submission in the middle of the mat, because then it's just, I don't know. They're also
so here's
on
the
concrete,
thing about
so I get nervous.
especially like there's a lot of connections are a big thing, right? So every time we make a grip, every time we do something, we create a connection. Well, resetting a connection is basically impossible. Every time you try to reset one of those positions, it's not the same. And any competitor can talk. I don't care if it's at a local Naga or it's at a PGF, there's been times you've been cheated. You had something much better, or you got put in a worse position, but usually it hurts the offensive player. So usually the defensive person wants the reset because it's going to change that connection, and typically it's going to get looser. And so I'm a big fan. I think the PGF is really trying to, no, we are prioritizing offense. The offensive player will always get the benefit of the call. It's just one of those situations where, I mean, Andre messed up. Like, dude, you have 12 matches. People need to realize that. These guys going out there getting – this isn't ADCC where you get one match and you're out. Yeah. You have 12 matches. Be a Brad Schneider. Go out, tap quick, and come out the second day and kill it. Because Brad, you know where he is? He's in the playoffs right now if it ended today. So, these guys got to kind of get their pride go a little bit, like these guys are like, well, I'm not going to tap to this. I'm the leg lock guy or whatever. It's like, dude, you've got 12 matches. Don't die day one, at least wait until the playoffs where then it's truly the end. I mean, if you're just not going to tap. So I would say that like first match or, you're on the edge of the mat and you're going to heal, just tap. You've got a bunch more, it's not worth it.
And with the Davis Asari versus Ryan Aitken crazy one, that was definitely a loud crack.
Oh.
He gets into it with Marcin, and I think this time he is much more quick to tap as soon as he's on the foot. So let me
there you go.
Good job, Asari.
Watch the straight ankles.
Watch it.
Turn. Keep turning.
Hide it. Good.
Keep turning.
We can't have you hurt.
Keep turning.
And I think you could even hear someone in the stands like, "We can't have you hurt," and he was going to tap either way. But I think it's super important for Davis, who had that crazy pop against Ryan Aitken, to tap soon too. So it's crazy.
Well, I mean, so Travis was going up against supposed to go against Davis his second match, and that's when Chris stepped in. And our game plan was, hey, let's see, this guy is hurt. Like, he is really hurt. You can't take a crack like that and not be really hurt. So, and he even talked about after his last match, where he was talking about how he had to play a little bit differently because he was worried about that foot. And so I didn't realize he was going against Marcin, but that's a terrible matchup to go in hurt. And look, I know some people are like, man, it's messed up. He went for that. Like, this is for $20,000. This is life-changing money for a grappler. This is $20,000. I mean, most grapplers never get a shot at something like that. And so anyways, with Travis supposed to go against him, I was like, hey, let's see how he looks his first match. And if he even can compete, like, there's a good chance you're going to be going into replacement. But if he does, like, if the match starts getting hard, like, let's say at the minute and a half, 1 minute mark, like, if it's starting to get close, let's just just dive on that bad leg. Like, you're going to get a tap. And you've got to strategically, like, if a guy's going out there hurt, you've got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I talked to Dean Lister before this block, and I pointed that out, and he said, yeah, no, we don't strategize for that at all because it kind of makes you feel like you didn't really win. Like, if he wasn't hurt, did I really win? But obviously, Marcin imposed his game and got the win there. Another devastating leg lock that we're going to have to show. The first Aoki lock of the season, Chris Wojcik getting it done.
There we go! That's what I'm talking about. Watch it. There we go.
I felt bad about that one because you can kind of just immediately see Dory kind of like go into processing that it was kind of bad. Tell me about that Aoki lock and why it's the hot new thing in jiu-jitsu right now.
So Aoki locks are, it's a straight ankle lock variation, but typically with the straight ankle lock, you're going to be breaking either the bottom of that tibia right there or the actual foot, where you're going to be bending and breaking the ligaments and tendons in the foot. Well, the Aoki lock turns it into more of a heel hook style finish. And so you're actually getting into the knee. And so you're going to get those breaks on the ankle, but you're also going to get damage into the knee. And they come on super, super quick. And to me, they're probably the scariest leg lock. Like, I would much rather be in a heel hook or because like there's time to tap in those, because you think about Davis, like Davis had time to tap to Ryan's heel hook, right? He was in there for a good 5-6 seconds before it cracked. those Aokis come on so quick. And it's funny that there's a teenage girl here that's learned an Aoki lock, and she's put it on me once or twice. And I'm like, oh my, I mean, this girl is 115 pounds and she will break your leg with this. So I can only imagine Chris Wojcik, who's one of the best in the world at that, doing it comp speed. I mean, terrifying.
Ooh. Yeah, there has definitely been some terrifying moments, and one of them happened at the end of the night with Elijah Carlton taking on Adam Bradley. Did you see the injury happen in real time? I'm going to play it real quick here because Elijah definitely did, and you can see in his face, he's like, bro, are you okay? And he actually let it go because I think he was so shook about it. He talked about how it made him very nervous and had to go to the bathroom as well. So
Much the last couple of days.
typical
and continue to
jabroni.
Play on the bottom.
It looks like that knee is free now.
The look on his face.
Bradley escaped a precarious position right there.
And you
see
can
that
kind of just see in
shine
the energy of
underneath the
Adam.
right eye of Elijah Carlton. He's showcasing why everyone calls this the
It's funny with
gauntlet.
Elijah, because there's a point where they're like, he's backing away, and he's like, it's because I broke his leg.
Yeah.
And Elijah's always had that personality of, he's always been nicknamed the bad guy in the PGF, but he is a sweet guy. You could see he didn't want to continue with the match. I mean, he didn't. He was just like, what do we do? Like, this guy's got a broken leg. Like, bro, come on. Like, just same thing. Like, bro, Adam, we get it. You're tough. Like, dude, he's had 2-hour matches. The dude's phenomenal. He got to the semifinals of CJI, but it's like, man, live to fight another day. And you hear Elijah at the end. He's like, hey, man, we can run this back. Like, we'll run it back another time. Because it wasn't like Elijah, like he just was a kind of a freak thing. Elijah's leg positioning was super tight. I've trained with Elijah a bunch of times. His leg lock positionings, I mean, are terrifyingly tight. I mean, obviously, he's one of the best leg lockers in the world. And Adam probably tried to rotate and just something just cracked, and that just happens sometimes. But it's like, come on, man. Like, we got to think about athlete safety. I also don't want to see these dudes just like, I mean, he just collapsed.
Yeah, he ended up going on with the match for about 2 more minutes. And you can hear Davis Asari, a teammate of Elijah, in the background say he slowed down. And then Elijah responds, it's because I popped his knee pretty good. And Davis says, I know, I heard it. So it was something you could hear in the audience if you were really paying attention. And you can kind of just see Adam slowly kind of feel it out. And honestly, props to him for continuing to go 2 minutes in. The question now is, and Paolo, by the way, someone who just asked about the specific injury, I'm not 100% sure on what the injury is, but we will definitely know come day 3 broadcast time. When I forgot what I was going to say about Adam Bradley and Elijah, but basically, the way he was like wobbling on it, I was like, oh, he's definitely injured here, but he continued going. The question now is, Matt, do you think that counts as a break or as a kill because he ended up quitting?
So here's what I would do in this situation. I wouldn't give him 6, but I also wouldn't give him 3. I would give him 4 because I just would give him an extra point for that. Like, okay, you did make somebody quit. I don't think it's the same as a kill. I do not think it's the same as a choke. You disabled the guy, and that's what you broke his leg, but you didn't kill him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so to me, you did do the definition. And so he didn't tap to the hook. You're right, but you broke him. And so you should get break points. And I would give him an extra point just for the damage. We're going to give you that extra elbow genie point. So I would give him 4 points. I would be like, hey, I hear what you're saying. We'll meet in the middle, and I'll give you an extra point.
Yeah, we definitely had some debate between Egghead, Jason Anik, BMAC. I think BMAC thinks that it should be a break. TJ thought it should be a break. And then some people, Egghead was going with tradition. Egghead said that because that they have been doing it in the past, it has always been 6. It should be 6. I'm like, just because it is traditional doesn't necessarily mean it's right. We may have to veto it and make it something different, because I kind of agree with you. It shouldn't be the full 6 because it wasn't a kill.
Honestly, I can't remember that ever being a thing. So he says,
yeah, you've been around.
I've been around. I've been there for all of them. I mean, I've watched every PGF match that's ever happened. So I don't ever remember that being the case. I mean, I can think of times guys quit. So like with Kevin Sherrill and Elijah, Elijah popped Kevin's foot super bad. He did finish the match, but then he quit for the rest of the time. He was too injured, and Elijah wanted points for that. But he continued the match, but he was like, I want break points for that. But I can't think of any match where somebody got hurt and quit and they gave him 6 points.
We're going to have to take this up with Egghead because he
So
says
maybe
that
Egghead, I mean, he's got it all written. I just use my brain, you know. Egghead's got everything written down.
documented, yes.
I'm just saying I can't ever remember that being the precedent. Now, maybe that was a rule, but I don't ever remember that, you know, coming in.
And someone named Nick agrees with you. I think that is a very good take. That's something they weren't even offering as an option yesterday. Quick clip of yesterday before we begin to wrap up. Shout out to the social media team.
Bradley, can you continue? Continue? Good. He's good. That's a tap. He stopped. That's a sub.
I don't even know what happened. It wasn't even like a leg lock thing.
I was digging for the bite and she was correct.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You're good, bro.
Good match, man.
Good match, man. We'll run it back.
About shit myself. Literally? Yeah, my anxiety just went through the roof when I broke his fucking leg. You felt it? Oh, yeah. For sure, I don't even know what was happening. I was digging the bite and I started...
Ugh, that's pretty nasty. We saw him slow down over there at the end on the referee when they called that stalling call.
I just shit myself, bro.
All right, we love you, Elijah. Go take care of that.
So in very jabroni style, and Anthony, my producer helping me with everything, said that Adam mentioned there was no heel hook in. I tried to shuck his leg down my knee from 50-50 standing and my toes were caught in the armpit. But I mean, nevertheless, whatever happened, that knee popped and it made it so that he was basically not able to move. So his hips came down on my knee as I tried to spin with my toes wrapped and it wrecked my knee. We'll try to hear from him today to see what's up with that. But very interesting point on the 4-point suggestion. That is maybe going to have to be the winner of this topic today. Matt, was there any final closing thoughts about day 1 and day 2? And then you're going to have to make your predictions.
Oh, I mean, now it's kind of easy because this is a huge lead. I mean, this season, and if you guys do remember, I did say this season was going to be very, very, very close. This was going to be the closest season in PGF history. I think the regular season, I thought it was pretty up for grabs. You know, anybody. I did think Ryan was probably the dude to do it, but as we can see, I mean, Ryan didn't score any points yesterday, and I mean, it's just everybody's right there. I mean, if somebody gets 2 chokes today, they're going to be in first place. So with that 20-point lead, I have a really hard time seeing the other team, especially with how injured they are. I mean, half these teams are just barely still functioning. I mean, they're sending out replacements, and I think we see, like, replacements are good for one match. They come out there and they bring the energy. But those guys, I mean, they're just, no offense to them, they're not 12 matches capable. You know what I'm saying? Like Chris, I thought the match with Travis was amazing, but you kind of saw he slowed down a lot. The next match, it's just tough. I mean, it's wearing on these guys, and so I think the healthiest team and the team that has the 20-point lead, I mean, it's really, really hard to, unless something insane happens, they're going to be about impossible to beat at this point. So I think that's a pretty safe bet. I mean, the odds another team come back, like I said, with just how injured the other teams are. I mean, Adam Bradley's a big loss. You know, Andre Porfio, Davis Asari, these are big, big losses. And so I think we'll see Ryan Aitken come out as the number 1 point scorer. I expect him. He's had some really tough matches. I think we'll see. I could see a guy I could see Paul Ardea. That'd be probably my big prediction is we see Paul Ardea miss the playoffs.
Miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. That'd be crazy because we did have PJ Barch miss the playoffs last season. And then the main reason he got in was because Ben Eddy was a little bit injured and wanted to give him that spot. I remember you mentioned that something you're always looking forward to every PGF season is who's going to quit. I mean, obviously we have injuries like Andre Porfirio, his knee, But then we have Kamoy, who has like a back problem now. I don't know if he'll be back. He took the rest of yesterday off. That's why.
It's not really fair to say quit this season, because I think all of us, like, we've heard these just insane. I mean, we've seen literally Adam Bradley like, I'm good, and it's like, bro, you can't even stand.
Yeah.
In past seasons, it's been more guys have these phantom injuries. You're like, you weren't actually injured, and they're just kind of bowing out. And so I don't think quit's fair this season. These guys just literally let themselves get broken. So I mean, I think quit isn't exactly the right word for this season.
I don't know if you can see my screen, Matt, but can anyone else see my screen that has the smooth comp information on it? Hopefully. I'm just going to kind of go through some of the matchups that we're going to get. I mean, I'm super excited for Marcin versus Elijah Carlton. That is going to be in the first block of the day. So that means we're going to have Constellation Network versus Team Intara. Then we're going to get Chris Wojcik versus Caleb Crump. I know he's going to be hungry to continue putting points on the board for his team. And then we're going to get Kyle Chambers versus Travis Thomas. What do you think about this match, Matt?
I mean, Kyle has a tough style. His guard's hard to pass. They've actually competed before at a 10th Planet qualifier, and Travis pretty much dominated the regulation, but Kyle won the EBIOT. And so, I mean, I see Travis passing. Kyle's super hard to finish. He's one of the hardest guys in the world to honestly finish. I mean, we saw with Isaac Michelle, he had a 2.5 hour match because he was so defensively tough. But I think Travis passes his guard a couple times. It'll probably be a draw, if I had to guess.
Okay. I think now you guys should be able to see my screen, hopefully. Then we also have Paul Ardilla. I know you said that it could be the shocker that he doesn't make the playoffs, but Cameron Hurd, he has not been scored on. He is super
Cam
tough.
Hurd's not getting scored on this season. This dude is a machine. I mean, his cardio, his pace, his style, these guys are struggling to even just get a hold of him. I mean, he's very impressive.
Yes, and then we were supposed to have Adam Bradley versus Ryan Aitken today, but with that injury, it's likely that Adam Bradley is out. I mean, I can't see it any other way.
We call that 6 points.
What do you
mean? What I'm saying is whoever fills in is getting dunked on. I mean, Ryan Aiken's the best guy.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying we're calling that match 6 points.
Yeah, that could be 6 for Ryan. I know he did have a social media post that went out. He said, I've had some of the tougher matches, but now from here, I'm really planning on keeping that '1 spot and getting some submissions.
Ryan has looked phenomenal. I mean, there's been a handful of guys. I mean, 4 or 5 of the guys have really stood out to me, but Ryan to me is definitely, he's been the #1 guy. Like he's looked phenomenal.
He really has. And now I can completely understand my interview with him. He was being so self-deprecating and humble and like, I can only get points. I tried to submit Dory. I couldn't get anything against him and all this and like talking himself down. And there is a part of him that does feel that pressure and like questioning of himself of whether or not that he can really do this. So there is that self-doubt that he has talked to me about also, but I feel like he's really coming into his own this day 3 and 4 after the performances he's been having. But also a top contender is going to be Marcin. He's going up against Cameron Hurd. I know Cameron isn't getting a point scored on him, says you, but this one could be the match.
That's the match I'd have circled today for just, I think that's a really, really interesting stylistic matchup. Marcin has been probably the second. He's been phenomenal as well. Him and Ryan have really been, I mean, Marcin really took it to Ernesto yesterday, even though he didn't get points in that match. I mean, Marcin is a stud.
He really is. And then we're going to get Fedor Nikolov versus Kyle Bain. Thoughts on that match?
Fedor's tough. I mean, we see he's more of a defensive grappler. We haven't seen much offense from him outside the rubber guard, but he's super good in the leg entanglements. I think Kyle Bain is really he killed going in, he killed that Nashville qualifier, right? We saw him go there and he tapped Ernesto twice that day, easily. So if you would have told people beforehand that Ernesto would have double the points of Kyle, you'd be like, there's no way. But that's just the reality of the PGF. And Kyle's been a slow starter. And here's the thing that's scary is, last night we heard him say, he's like, look, I've got my hard matches out the way. I'm going to eat from here on out. I'm going to score some points. But every match, I mean, there's 6, half of this thing is already over. 6 matches are left for each guy. In each match you don't score, and especially when your team's not getting the team point. I mean, those team points are so huge. I think he's another guy, him and Paul, one of those dudes aren't going to make it. And maybe both, but one of those dudes definitely aren't going to make it. My pick's Paul. I think Kyle makes it, but yeah, he's got to score.
Can't wait to find out. You guys can stream it live on the PGF YouTube channel. I believe it's on UFC Fight Pass YouTube channel as well, all starting at 4 p.m. They have a pre-show and then a post-show as well if you want to get all the tea that is happening. I mean, this season hasn't been as dramatic, just like petty-wise when it comes to drama. So I think that's actually a good thing. The energy has been really good. We'll see you guys.
It's been different in that people are getting broken this season instead. So it's like, there's not drama, but there's been people literally like legs getting just absolutely destroyed.
And like so quickly, like day 1, we had alternates. It's absolutely insane. Matt, thank you so much for joining me. This was so fun. I'm happy we waited till day 2 because I feel like that just gave us so much more to talk about. So if you guys want to catch anything, make sure you check out PGF. We will be there and talk to you guys soon.